Good afternoon. I want to talk about this remarkable tabletop combat sports game. This is MMA, professional MMA fighting sports game. I had this printed. You cannot buy this. I actually had this custom made. I was willing to pay for it. It was not the file was not designed to be printed, but it came out beautifully. This cover is just some generic cover I had made, so I'd have a cover for the book. But it's called Legacy of Cage, the Gauntlet. It is a mixed martial arts career-based game that can be played head-to-head or solo, or even automated, completely automated, which is how I've been playing my fighter. It was written and illustrated by Matthew Ventry and published by PlayArchitext Games, which I believe Matthew also owns, or is at least a part of. This is phenomenal. So I'm a huge boxing fan. My favorite sport, football, slowly trumped boxing for me as a young man. As I began to play football and get involved in football, when you get involved with a sport, it quickly becomes kind of your favorite. But the point is, boxing's always been my favorite sport. Combat sport, a punching sport. I mean, boxing, let's face it, it's a punching sport. MMA is a straight up combat sport. So anyway, long story short, I grew up loving Title Bout. That's still probably my favorite boxing game of all time. I've played, you name it, I've played it, and they're all remarkable, but they don't compare to what this is. And this is the closest thing I've seen to a sports role-playing game. You literally create a fighter like you would create a character in a role-playing game. The book is even written and laid out. I mean, everything about it is straight out of the DNA of role-playing. And I love that because I'm also a diehard role-playing gamer. Plus, I've designed and written my own role-playing games. So I really appreciate that. But where it shines is in the depth and the detail, but it's not overly complicated. Once you get here to the score sheet, this is no more complicated than, say, Legends of Boxing. You know, your score sheet, as long as you know your boxer's attributes, you just write them in, as opposed to them being on a card, for instance. You just jot them in here, and this is your score sheet, round by round, segment by segment, just like you would a boxing game, right? So it appears to be complicated, but it's not. However, it is deep. It is loaded with depth and nuance, which is another thing that makes me think role-playing game, because of the level of depth and nuance, subtle nuance. But what's really special about this is the actual sport, because it's a legitimate tactical combat sport game. We're not just rolling dice and scoring punches and then seeing if there's a knockdown or a cut. That's what 99% of tabletop sports boxing games are. There is no tactical fight happening. Yes, you can pick a style. I'm going to fight inside. I'm going to fight outside. I'm going to fight defensive. I'm going to be aggressive and go for a knockout. Okay, those are those are styles. They're tactics. They affect the game subtly. This literally is a chess match. This is This is the greatest. The number one strategy game base that Nash's Equilibrium talks about. What is the perfect game? Tic-tac-toe is the actual perfect representation of a game. This is the tic-tac-toe of combat sport, and that's it. And it's beautiful. Now we still have dice, and that's what makes it even more fun. Tic-tac-toe, we all know. You're always going to break even. That's not going to happen in this. But my point is, you're picking X's, I'm picking O's. We roll the dice, we see what's happening. Of course, there's more than just an X and O here. There are multiple actions, 8 in fact, that you can take as a combatant. What's also brilliant is this has head-to-head, so it's head-to-head. Of course, it is a head-to-head game, but it also has a solo mode where you automate the enemy, but you can also play this solitaire where you automate your fighter as well, which is how I've been playing it. So I'm playing it completely solo, automating both my fighter and the enemy. I'm feeling more like the manager of this boxer, or of this fighter, right? It uses all the base dice that you would find in a role-playing game. However, it doesn't necessarily use these dice during actual play, but you might need them, right? Certainly for character creation. You create a character very much like you would a role-playing game, which is, again, part of what I love about it. And that character, of course, is going to have a career. Instead of exploring dungeons and slaying dragons and collecting treasure and getting stronger and more powerful, you're going to have your matches, and you're going to hopefully level them up, and you're going to get stronger, and you're going to become better, and you're going to fight greater opponents, and you're going to eventually, hopefully, become champion, right? And it is fantastic. Book layout also DNA shares the DNA of role-playing games, the way it's laid out. I also love these cheat sheets that he does, where he puts everything on a sheet. It's fantastic. He repeats this later. Every chart you need is in the back of the book, which is genius. Then we have the career portion, your longevity, your hype, your experience, and then how the fight works with rounds, breaks, priorities, positioning, standing, actions, action checks, all the different things you can do, again, which makes it, again, tactical combat as opposed to title bout where you're just flipping a card and seeing what's happening, or Legends of Boxing where you might pick a style and roll dice to see what happens, or Glory Days where you just roll the dice and see what happens. This is a legitimate tactical combat game in which you could play with your buddy, right? I pick a fighter out of the book, or I create a fighter, you create a fighter, and we beat the snot out of each other. That is special. That's special, right? It's super rare. Super duper rare. He has everything you need, and he covers everything. You do feel like you are in a MMA fight for your life, right? When Tony Bedoni in round 2 in his fight against Oscar was pinned on the bottom for 3.5 minutes, I felt his pain, his exhaustion of trying not to get his nose broke, or the exhaustion of trying of not getting an armbar, or not getting choked out, fighting for his life, trying to counter every move that Oscar made, or trying to get up as Oscar was elbowing him and punching him in the head for 3.5 straight minutes, with another grown ass man trying to kill you. It was just, it is something that none of these other games capture. So I watch boxing, I watch MMA, I watch highlights, I'll watch documentaries about my favorite boxers of all time. You can find them on YouTube. And nothing motivates me like watching real fights, watching real documentaries about my favorite fighters of all time. But then I sit down to play a boxing game, and it's missing that. It's missing that struggle. It's missing that danger of punches missing the chin, or that danger of trying to get out of a situation when you've been caught on the cheek, or you've been caught on the chin, and you're dazed and you're on the ropes. You don't feel like it's your. You don't feel the ebb and flow of those moments. You doing this. I love this transitions chart. So I didn't realize quite the depth until I studied the chart. And when I studied the transition chart, that's when it hit me how simple choices. You have 8 choices, but how incredibly dynamic. But also this tells you how tactically interesting it is. All of these different results. That's just from the matchup about transitioning. That's just a transition between standing and down, or up and down, or evading, or reversing. Epic, right? Anyway, it's got this level of detail that I never knew I wanted in a combat game. Let's put it that way. And again, this was not meant to be printed. I did this custom, and it's beautiful. I mean, he could have easily made this into a book with a click of a button. In my opinion, it would have needed a cover and everything, but the reality is it's beautiful. I mean, it comes off great. He also covers what you don't know about MMA, right? If you don't know the rules, if you don't understand the scoring, if you don't know how to do the decisions, he doesn't leave you hanging on that stuff. You get everything you need to do this and to understand the sport of MMA and everything, including injuries, etc. He has a great example of how to score the fight, which is these score sheets, right? So he walks you through a live fight and how to score it. So if there's anything in the rules that's somewhat confusing about how to do a thing or how a thing works, He walks you through and blow by blow. And this is very important. The scorecard, it's called, right? Highlights it in colors for you. And then he has this remarkable flow chart. And again, so he has charts in here that really do make it. Again, these charts are what send you to this idea that we are playing a tabletop combat game like any other sports Dyson chart games. It becomes Dyson chart with this stuff. It doesn't require charts for the actual combat, right? But we have these charts, flow charts, etc., which keep you doing things properly until it becomes second nature. Then, of course, we have the other piece of this that is special. That's the career mode. You create a character randomly. You select, kind of what you want him to be. If you're using an AI, so what I did, because you don't, when you're playing your own guy, you're supposed to pick his actions during a fight. Well, I actually made Tony Bedoni maybe a state champion high school wrestler. Probably didn't get to college. He might have been a state champ. Who knows? This Brooklyn kid might have had troubles and could not choose to go to college. Maybe his mother was sick and he had to stay at home, so he didn't do the college route. Maybe, at some point, Tony Bedoni, after his mother passes and he just wants to start his life afresh, and he flies out to LA and says, I'm going to get into MMA. So I chose to make him a wrestler using the wrestler artificial intelligence, which is in the book. And that's what he is. And then, of course, I rolled him up. Now, since then, I've had a few fights, and I've adjusted some of his stuff. And I'll talk about that in a second. So you have this career that you're doing. So after a fight, you're awarded so many points. If you win a fight, you get so many points. If you win a fight, you can get hype points. Hype points, of course, change the tier. The tier, that can affect how much you get, how much you lose. You also get AP points. Those AP points can be spent to train in skills, and they can be used to upgrade your actual attributes. So after fight 1, he won. He got 50 hype points, but he's still not yet at tier 2. His hype is tier 1. Technically, he is, where's his hype rating? Hype is 50. He has scored, since he won this fight, he has 50 hype points, but he's still in the first tier. He won't get to the second tier till he surpasses 125 hype points. But he won that fight. He also got 300 action points. Those can be spent to either improve an attribute or to purchase or train in skills. So after the first fight, I didn't do anything. I left him alone, and I had a second fight against Oscar Kane in which I drew. I didn't get any hype points, but I did get another 200 AP for the draw. I had 500, and then I went ahead and purchased training and earned a skill called Crank. And again, my character is a wrestler, and I had a great wrestling score, but I did not have a great grapple. I had only a 2 grapple. So the second thing I did was I paid 300, which was everything I had left, to improve 1 point. So you pay to improve to the number. So if I wanted to make this a 6, that's going to cost me 600 points. Well, this was a 2. I wanted to make it a 3, so I had to pay 300 points just to make that a 3. So you can see how many fights you're going to have to do before you've accumulated enough to keep increasing your stuff, okay? So that gives you an idea of how this works. I spent 200 to train and earned a skill called Crank, and then I spent the last 300 to improve my grappling by just 1 point. So it's really deep. As I said to him privately, or I said to him on the Discord channel, I don't know if it was, I think it was public on the Discord channel. I don't think it was a private channel. I told him, it's infinite. This game is endless and infinite in how you can create and how you can develop fighters, and that's the best thing I can say about the staying power of a game like this. Right, tactical combat, use of dice to resolve whether you achieve the thing, AI, artificial intelligence between two fighters, or play your buddy head to head. You hide your call like you're playing a chess game or something. I reveal mine, he reveals his. We roll our dice, we start beating the snot out of each other, and then we do it again. It is remarkable. Okay, he's got minor injuries and major injuries when things go bad in the fight, right? And then, of course, we have retirement, living legacy. Now, this is genius. I can accrue some of my AP and keep them. and I can spend that AP to guarantee I can create another character at a higher level. So let's say Tony Bedoni fights 20 fights and I decide to retire him, and let's say he's got 600 AP left in the bank. I can come over and say, well, if I have 500 AP, I can make another fighter as an expert. So I could start a new fighter who's already an expert, right? That's legacy. I can carry that AP over to create, instead of another rookie, I can create an expert, which is very cool, right? Okay. Skills, learning skills, training, whether they're passive skills, active skills, or reactive skills. How do you activate them? How long does it take to activate them in fight, between rounds, post-fight? And then using skills. And again, remember, I did not have a skill for my first fight. I did not spend any points for my second fight. But after drawing in that second fight, I realized I needed to improve him. So I was able to improve an attribute point and train for a skill between fights. You can only do it. You can do both those things one time between fights. So I went ahead and bought Crank, which is going to make my grappling far more dangerous. And I also improved my grappling. So you can see now Tony Bedoni going into his third fight. He's a wrestler, so he can get the takedown, but he wasn't great once he was on the mat. And the worst thing you can be as a wrestler in MMA is, yeah, you're able to get a cat on the ground, but if you can't control that cat once you get him on the ground, you're doomed. Going to the ground is the stupidest thing to do, even if you're a wrestler. If you can't control what happens when you get on the ground, I don't care how great a wrestler you are, you're doomed. So grappling becomes big. So I went ahead and bought Crank to give me a skill to help me in the fight, activate it. It is an active activation. I only need one mind to do it. I've got mind currently of 3. It's an in-fight decision, so I can do it literally in-fight. And then I have a power bonus, and I can carry that power bonus twice per round, which means I can force submissions a little easier in a critical, right? So I can crank it down, I can crank on them, and I might force a submission, a tap out, right? And it gives you an effect right here. And it cost me 200 AP to do that. Okay. So you can spend these AP points, and you can have as many skills as you can afford to purchase. It's entirely up to you. I could have not spent a penny on skills and just slowly upgraded all of his ratings and just said, I don't want to be, since I'm automating him, I don't really want to mess around with skills. I'm probably going to do that with my next fighter. I'll probably see how far I can go with no skills whatsoever in the fight. So we'll see. When you use the AI, you don't necessarily activate skills. So skills almost feel like something that's optional. In a head-to-head bout, these are going to be great fun. It's going to be great fun if I win a takedown and I win the priority and I say, okay, I'm cranking it down on you, Bill, and I roll those dice and improve my chance at forcing a critical submission or something, or improve my chance of forcing a submission, getting a submission, but then forcing maybe a potential tap out, right? Okay, and there's enough, I think he was concerned he didn't have enough skills. This is more than enough, my opinion. But I think his new version is going to have more stuff. But I'm one of those guys, for instance, I'm not big on things like skills and feats in my role-playing games. So you can imagine how I feel when I see a skill list in a fighting game. But then I realize all we're doing in this is fighting. We're not role-playing. Of course, I role-play everything I do as far as getting in the headspace of the narrative and what's going on. But I actually appreciate a simple skill list to keep things manageable for me by myself, right? Okay, so there's our skills. And then we have modes of play with friends, solo, and then the roll grid. He's got the gauntlet here. How you're supposed to. These are mandatory. You kind of fight them in order to win the gauntlet. Again, I'm not doing that. I'm doing my own career. And my goal is I've got the 2 fights I've already had. I've scheduled a fight versus Martin Volga. He's a grappler. He's a rookie as well. And then my 4th fight will be against Artemis Salva, who is a wrestler, rookie. Then my 5th fight will be against a journeyman. And if I can, that fight will also elevate me to a journeyman, whether I'm winning or losing. So what I love about the career in this is you level up from rookie to journeyman by just doing fights. You don't have to win them. You just gotta have fights under your belt. Well, I've currently got 2 fights under my belt. I need 2 more to be at the very tip of rookie. And then the 5th fight that I complete, I will become a journeyman. So I need 3 more fights to become a journeyman. Well, that journeyman's going to be reflected, obviously, too, in how much AP I can spend to keep improving him, either here or here. So, but I'm going to be a journeyman. If I don't spend the points, I can literally become a veteran and not win a fight, right? You can literally become a tomato can, so to speak, right? Okay. So anyway, and then we have an MPF. These are non-player fighters, or NPCs. In role-playing games, are called non-player characters, meaning they aren't played by human beings. They're played by the GM, or they're played by an artificial intelligence. These aren't characters; they're fighters. But we've got all the fighters we need to represent our enemies. So I just give him a name. Roman Oliver. He's a striker. He's a rookie. And I don't do record. I'm not worried about record. I'm doing my own record, but for them, this tells me what their record is. So a journeyman, I can assume, is so many fights, because it tells you in here how many fights a journeyman has. So let me give you an idea of what I'm doing. So the first fight I played off camera. The second fight, which is in this book, is, you can see those videos on the channel. Round 1, round 2, round 3 are right here in this book. And I didn't have score sheets, so I did it this way. I wrote down Tony's ability, his artificial intelligence for both fighters, for 1 and 2, and then I scored the rounds in a shorthand here. Scored round 2 here, and then round 3 I wrote down the artificial intelligence for round 3, and I scored round 3 right here, and it ended in a split draw. So that was how I scored the fights. And using shorthand was very simple. I mean, I look at this chart, I was like, I don't even really need these, but I'm going to use them for the next fight I do so people can see how you score the fight. Okay. But I also noted who he's fought and how many fights that Oliver has. So Oliver now has a fight under his belt. I don't care if he won or lost or whatever, but he's a rookie. If I use Oliver for other fights later with other boxers, or I choose to use Oliver and fight those two just because I want to play would not be I just want to watch these two guys fight each other, I'm going to keep my own career of fighters. After these guys get so many fights, they're going to become journeymen, right? So, and then I will upgrade them appropriately to the journeyman version of the striker. If you get my grift, I'm not going to adjust Oliver. I'm not gonna treat him like a player character or a player fighter. I'm just going to look over and say, oh, this guy's a striker. What's the journeyman version of the striker? Okay, cool. I'll use his stats now for any more fights. However, I don't need to. I can just keep making all the career generic fighters I want. I'll have journeyman, expert, whatever. And that will be the people that he faces in my little fictional world of Tony Bedoni's first run at a title. And then, of course, I'll make another character and take a run at a title. So again, he has all of the automated AI here. So when I write on here that he is a wrestler AI, I'll go back here and I will use the wrestler AI for Tony Bedoni in all of my fights, which is found wrestler. And here's his AI for the fights, so I don't have to control him, right? And then, of course, when he goes up to a journeyman, I will look in here and I will find where I want him to evolve to. Or actually, I don't need to. I will evolve him myself as far as skills, but I will be looking for what do I want his AI to look like for the journeyman, right? And there's two. It looks like there's two AIs for journeyman here. Not to mention, he has already put out free. There's 3 AIs. So there's 3 AIs for journeyman. So I'll pick one of these different AIs for him. And he's put out already 3 supplements that are other fighters, which is incredible. So you've got even more. I think there are 6 fighters in all those sets. I think you got another 18, or maybe you got 3 in there. So I think there's another 9 fighters, MPFs. Okay. And then he's got a run it back rematch clause, a ranking shuffle, etc. But again, this is for his gauntlet. I'm doing my own thing. And then the end of the book, as I said before, is like this is where it becomes perfect for the tabletop, which is why I wanted this in a coil-bound book. These charts are what I need to sit here and play. And they're beautifully laid out. They're beautiful. I can read them. We even got our injury charts, our progression movement, all of our post-fight career advancement charts. And then, of course, a final, what is this game? And then blank sheets. But this, again, is not for sale. I had this custom made because I want to play at the table. I want to be able to make videos. But I'm going to tell you right now, in my 45 years. I've been playing tabletop sports games since I was 8, 9. So in 45, 46 years, Title Bout was always my favorite boxing game. Of course, there's been a lot of brilliant boxing games that have come into my life. I've invented my own boxing games, which I really enjoy. My own Big Country Boxing, and my big my boxing time I play more of boxing time than I play of any of the boxing games I currently own. This is unique in that it is truly a game. It is truly a tactical combat game. So it really feels like you're in it, and that is something I don't get from any of the boxing games. I just feel like I'm a spectator, and I feel like I'm rolling dice. I feel like I'm fully invested, even when I'm not controlling Tony Bedoni, and he's pinned, and I'm wanting him to reverse. I want him to evade. I want him to get up. I want him to, get the hell out of that situation. I feel it, and it's creating a level of immersion that I don't get with any boxing games, and that's part of why it feels like a role-playing game. It's very immersive for me as a combat sport. But there you go, folks. That's Legacy, and that's the cover of the actual book, or the PDF, Legacy of the Cage, the Gauntlet. And he has a version 2 on the way that will also be available in book. So I cannot wait for that. I will be buying that day one. Without question, I will be buying that day one. Until then, I'm going to play the living hell out of this version until version 2 comes out. So pretty cool. But there's what my character sheet looks like a role-playing game, like a D&D game. You got your attributes, you got your record, you got your name, you've got your skill set. I'm also writing down where I wrote down where I spent his AP to improve him. So this is really for skills, but I'm going to write down every improvement I make to him. And then here's his fight record. His first fight was he was 0-0, and he beat Roman Oliver by submission, and he scored 50 hype, 300 AP. Fight 2, he was 1-0. He tied Oscar Kane, the striker, in a 1-1-1 draw, and he scored no hype for a draw, but he got 200 AP. Fight 3, I have yet to do. He is 1-0-1, and I'll be fighting Martin Volga, who's also a rookie, but he's a grappler. And then the final fight I'm going to do before I face a journeyman is against Artemis Salva, and he will be a wrestler. And then eventually I will have a fight 5, which will be against a journeyman quality opponent. So by then, my character should at least be close to being ready to face journeyman, because after his 5th fight, he's actually going to become a journeyman, right? Now, regardless of what his hype ends up, he can end up losing every one of these fights and have no hype, but he will at least gain AP, and he can become a journeyman despite having no hype, right? Just a guy who can't get fans interested in him at all. But we're going to find out. I have faith that Tony Bedoni is going to be an interesting character in these follow-up videos. So stay tuned, because there's a lot coming for me in the next few weeks. I'm going to be playing more of this right here at this table with dice. And I will be playing DTF, Drive Time Football, and I will be playing John Turnbull, Powder Blue Sports' new hockey game. That game is released on the 17th, and I won't be playing that game live on the channel or on the channel until the 17th. So hockey is coming. It's just I'm not going to play it until it's released on the 17th. So keep your eyes open. All right, bye-bye. Oh, and I will be doing Season 2 for those who were enjoying my my Lucky TV show, Lucky Luciano, my Lucky Luciano, not the Lucky Luciano, Enzo Luciano, not Charles, I think it was Charlie Luciano, the real guy. Season 2 of my Big Country Lucky show is coming as well. That was so much fun. I forgot how much fun my Big Country Mobster was. And I do have 3 other solo games that I want to debut. This is a dungeon crawler solo game. I just got it today. I've been reading it. It looks unbelievable. And I have 2 other solitaire war games coming. Both of them are dogfight games. So I'll be sharing those on the channel as well. One is a 1915 biplane, triplane war game. The other one is a 1940s World War II dogfight game. and those are also solitaire. So I'll be sharing those as well. So you're gonna see a little more than just sports on the table in the future too. So stay tuned. Bye bye.